Good morning, everyone. It's Bethany Finch with American Made Home Solutions. It is Thursday. I think we're on day 24, I believe. So you only got a few more days left of me. Look at that. Great news, right? So this morning we are talking about how to feed a family on a budget, especially right now with so much going on with COVID. It actually, on the one hand, it may seem easier because most restaurants and things haven't been open, so you haven't been eating out as much. But sometimes it could be even more challenging because most people who are accustomed to going out and eating at restaurants or grabbing pizzas and things don't necessarily have the will or desire to cook family meals and that kind of thing. And so trying to feed a family on a budget can be quite taxing and daunting. But when you look at the prices and the amount of money you spend eating out and you put that in an actual budget, you would be surprised how much you could eat like kings. So there's a couple ways that you can go about it. Either one, you can actually figure out how much money each month that you currently spend on food, groceries, eating out, all of that, and start with that number. Or two, you can do the opposite. You can say, okay, in our budget, we really should only be spending this amount. So for us, we fed our family for years with $400 a month. That was it. I know, and this is how you do it. So many tools, tricks, and hacks that we did that helped to make that possible. One of the things that if you do not already or have not already invested in is either a chest freezer or a separate freezer that's just a freezer, not a fridge freezer combo, that you can keep in your garage or something, because with the family, that little side-by-side refrigerator freezer or that top freezer, that is never enough. And that's kind of one of the biggest hacks to being able to feed a family on a budget is planning ahead. In planning ahead, that means a little bit of food prep. So several of us have different modalities of doing it. So one of our friends takes one day a month and they do meal prep for the whole month, literally, like they make up soups and pastas and all this other stuff, and then they freeze it, and then throughout the month they just pull it out, warm it up, and they're good to go. So that's how they particularly choose to do that. I didn't necessarily do that. In our family, one of the things that I found I was overspending when I didn't have a plan. So for instance, if I made out a menu and I figured out, okay, we're going to have hamburgers and french fries this night, we're going to have tacos this night, we're going to have spaghetti this night, we're going to make homemade pizzas this night, and I planned out, so for instance, we did ours every 2 weeks was when I did grocery shopping, those 2-week schedules of meals. Then I'm looking at, okay, what do I already have in my pantry versus what do I actually need to pick up? And sometimes what I was finding is that I was planning meals that I didn't necessarily have the ingredients for, and I was often overbuying ingredients that it was only a one-time thing and it wasn't necessarily a big hit with my family. So then, as I planned out a menu, I figured out my family's likes and dislikes. I figured out which foods and spices and flavors and different things, but it took trial and error, right? So the plan is the biggest thing, planning out that menu. After planning out the menu, figuring out what I currently have in the pantry, because the key is it's so easy for things to go into the pantry and then they never come back out. It's like an abyss. It's kind of like the washer with socks, right? So you want to be rotating things. So if you're constantly buying, then you're not using what's actually in the pantry. Spices will get old, things of that nature. So then once I figured out what my family's likes were, as I had things in the pantry, I would instead, when I would go do my menu planning, I'd pull out, what do I have in the pantry? What can I make with what I have? And I would see, okay, oh, I've got, these seasonings. Oh, I have some excess hamburger. Oh, I have this. Oh, and that. Okay, there we go. So anyway, so the first part is feeding your family on a budget. You need to plan, meal prep. So the planning comes in setting a menu. When you do the menu, you can figure out what you currently have, and then you can add to that what you need to from the grocery store. That helps to eliminate overspending. Especially key to that, don't go shopping when you're hungry. Ever. Don't take your kids shopping when they're hungry. Ever. Those are key factors, right? I always carried snacks with me in the car and offered them before we went in the store, because the more hungry they are, the more hangry they become, just like we as adults do, right? So then it's always, Mom, I want this, Mom, I want this. And they really don't necessarily want that. They're just hungry. So the same is true for us. If we're hungry and we're shopping, everything sounds good. But then and then we have all this food that we aren't necessarily using, and it becomes wasteful. So the second part of that is that food prep part of it. So in that food prep part of it, there are things that you can do in advance. So for instance, if you know, I knew during the week was the busiest time. So I was teaching, I was coaching, I was still mom, right? And it was the busiest time ever was during the week. So I did more planning, and we literally lived out of a crock pot. I would burn through a crock pot every single season. You know, at the Black Friday, they have the crock pot that always goes on sale. I would get it, and by the next season, it would be dead, totally dead. I would use it at least 2 to 3 times a week. So that was a great way for me to be able to put all of my dinner items in, leave it for work, and then when I came home, there would be dinner ready, and I didn't have to think anymore about it. It was done. So it was, and then oftentimes we would have leftovers that we could utilize the next day. So part of my prep was always planning and preparing based on the time, because those leftovers the next day, I would coordinate. For instance, if Tuesday night I made a big meal, Wednesday night we were heading right from school and work and then off into church, so we would do quick leftovers, and it would be a faster, easier transition. So the less stress you make of it, the more enjoyable it can be, as well as the less money you'll spend on it, because then you're not going and grabbing things to go. Your family is eating better. The third part about that food prep is also the many things that you can actually do at home that most people don't realize. So for instance, most every kid loves peanut butter and jelly, right? Most people don't realize how easy jam is to make and how much money they make on jam. So you can make your own at home, super easy, super simple. So oftentimes berries you can get at the end of the season at an even better price, because they're just trying to clear them out. So I would wait until the end of the season to get those berries or fruits and things, because I always mixed mine. And it's literally, you throw it in a pot, you cook it, you throw in your sugar, you throw in your pectin, put it in a jar, done. It's that simple, guys. It really is. You can even do freezer jam if you'd prefer that. But it isn't hard, it isn't complicated, it just takes a little bit of prep, right? I had to actually plan out, okay, this is the time. So every year I would plan ahead in the summertime to make my jam, to do my, I would can vegetables. Vegetables, same thing. I remember when green beans used to be 25 cents a can, and now they're like $1 a can. It's absolutely ridiculous. The green beans haven't changed, guys. They're the same. So what I did also, same thing, we were able to grow a garden. So certain things that my family loved, like green beans, didn't always do so well in our garden. Snap peas did great, so we did that with lettuces and things that we could eat all summer long. And then I would go to the farmers markets and buy the green beans, and I would just spend a day and can them. So I might spend, out of all the days, to do my green beans, to do my fruits like peaches. I tried pears, not a big hit with my family. I didn't know you needed to can those things hard. So, and then the jams, and overall, I might have spent 3 full days doing those food preps for those items and tomatoes, but it would feed my family for the whole year. I would have those available in my pantry all year long, in our garage. I wouldn't have to take up freezer space, and it allowed for us to not have to spend the money on that, and it always tasted better. My family loved the green beans a lot better than the ones that we got in the cans. They loved the jams because I would make ones that you couldn't buy. It wasn't just strawberry jam. It was strawberry peach, or strawberry rhubarb, or peach raspberry, things like that. So they loved that aspect of it. But it also worked out because then I was able to give gifts to people who didn't have the time and energy to do that, and they wanted it for their family. So I was able to give gifts to them. Or if you're really ingenuitive, as a side hustle, you do it for them, right? And they just pay you. So that's something, another way you could supplement your family budget. The last thing was, along with that planning and prep, is meat. Meat is the biggest portion of our grocery budget, and whether you're vegan or not, there's always a protein source that's involved in your budget, and that protein source is usually the most expensive. So one of the things we found early on was that we could go buy our meat from the butcher at a far less expensive rate than if I just went to the grocery store and got it. Now I know what you're saying, like, no, I've called the butcher. Okay, it's not like I went and got 2 steaks from the butcher. It's not like that, all right? So what we did is, again, remember we have the freezer. We would buy a quarter of a beef, and then we would get some chicken to supplement. Every once in a while we would get some pork or something, or ham when it would go on sale, things of that nature. And that would feed our family for 9 months. So if you plan it, it is possible. And we had a family of 4, and oftentimes always had other kids coming and going and whatnot, and family members and such. So our kids never went hungry, right? And I was still able to do it on $400 a month. And those were just some of the tricks that I did. You may have other tricks that work better for you, that you like better. But the biggest key is being able to provide for your family healthy, nutritious meals that don't stress you out, that you feel good about serving to them, that everybody likes and enjoys. I didn't start out being a very good cook. I got better as the years went on. And I think sometimes I have days now where I'm not quite as good because I'm not quite as practiced, right? My kids have grown, they're eating out more, things of that nature. So it is something that with practice, anything is possible. And so including and incorporating a budget into your family isn't a bad thing. It just may be a different thing that takes a little bit of learning. If you'd like more tips about that, feel free to drop your email below. I'd be happy to send those out. Or if you have further questions, we'd be happy to answer those. I do know that it is possible. Many countries would look at $400 a month and be like, that would feed us for 3 months, right? In America, prices and things are different than they are in other countries, but in Western culture, it is slightly different how we eat and the style and the foods and things of that nature. So keep that in mind. It is possible. Feed your family on a budget. Don't let COVID freak you out. Don't let your family go hungry by any means. Find a different way to make things fun and enjoyable. Oftentimes the kids were involved with that meal planning, and that's how I taught my kids to cook. They were responsible for cooking one meal of the night, and they had to pick it and they had to cook it, and it was never hot dogs. That was not on the menu. They had to actually cook food, so they had to learn. So it can be a fun thing, and it is possible. I hope you have fun with it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you find value in this, and we will talk to you next time. Now, station identification here. The next 3 days are going to be a pause in our 30-day stream or whatever that we're doing, because I will not have signal. I'm here at my house and I'm already having struggle with signal. So we're actually going where there is no signal. And I'm not going to be able to drive all the way back just to get a signal, to film a video, to drive all the way back. So we will be pausing for the next 3 days, and we will see you again Monday morning, bright and early. And if I remember right, Monday we are talking all about how to live on a budget, how to create a budget. What does a budget look like? So stay tuned for that. We'll look forward to talking to you then. Have a great day. We'll look forward to catching up to you again, hopefully better fed and on a budget. All right, bye for now.